Sometimes memories don't come at you directly. You just sort of notice them. A familiar song, a certain shade of color, or the quiet sounds in a peaceful place can catch your attention before you know it. And for a moment, it feels like you're back somewhere you once knew again, and not just thinking about it. You might just call it nostalgia, but that's not the whole picture. Yeah, it's part of it, but nostalgia can be a quick and easy label. It names the feeling, but it doesn't tell you why it happens. So what I want to ask is why? Why do the places from old school games like the cozy woods of Elwyn Forest, the weird alien skies of Outland, or the freezing lands of Northrend feel so real and more than just parts of a game? Here's one idea. The classic era of World of Warcraft did something special by creating a strong sense of place. Like when you feel really attached to a spot, it made a world that felt real to your senses. And that's just as important as how it looked. It wasn't about having the best graphics. Keeping things simple actually helped. The game had consistent feelings in its sounds, lights, colors, how fast things happened, how far away things were. And those feelings weren't always changing. The game encouraged players to stay in those places long enough to really get to know them. That getting to know them part is important. We don't store our lives like files in a folder, and we don't remember game worlds that way either. Usually what sticks with us is a mix of patterns and feelings, like how a room feels, or who's there, or what you do there, or if you feel comfortable there. The place becomes part of the memory, and later on, even a small thing can bring back the whole picture. You notice the small thing first, and then you remember the rest. And this might explain something that gamers often notice but have a hard time putting into words. You remember many games by what happened in them. You think of the missions, the bosses, or the big flashy scenes. But with Classic Era, people often remember the place itself. They might not remember all the quests, but they can tell you all about the landscape, the long treks across zones, or what it felt like to be in a city where the game went on around them. It's not that one way of remembering is better. It's just that they're different, and Classic focused on the second one. Generally speaking, a place starts to feel real when you keep experiencing it in a way that makes sense to your senses. Your brain figures out what goes together. These colors with these sounds, this light with this feeling, this building style with this feeling of being safe or in danger. Over time, a zone stops being just a background and starts being a part of you. And the spot isn't just a pretty view anymore. It kind of tells you how to act, or where to wait, and what to pay attention to. Classic WoW was great at making a world that your mind could actually get to know. Sure, each zone was different, but a level of distinctiveness across zones is normal and to be expected. What made it special was how well everything fit together. The sounds matched the sights matched how fast things happen. How fast things happened matched how big the world felt. Instead of it just being like a bunch of different zones, it felt like you were in different places, and you stayed in them long enough to feel them. You can see this in how the game made you feel comfy without it being boring. You might remember Elwyn Forest as peaceful, and that's true, but it's not too safe. There are little things that remind you that danger is always close by. The forest feels real because it's not perfect. It's pretty safe, but not 100%, and that little bit of worry keeps it from feeling fake. Something similar happens in Night Elf areas, but with a kind of different feeling. It's not just pretty, it feels sort of important, like a ritual space. And the night sounds, like the wind, the bugs, the voices, it all makes you just sort of want to slow down a little bit. And the game doesn't have to tell you that these forests are sacred. The way it sounds and looks does that for you. And when the feeling of a place becomes more than just a decoration, it starts to control, subconsciously at least, how you might think and act. Then there are the places that just feel a bit uneasy. Undercity is a good example because it feels haunted even when nothing's going on. The sounds aren't some catchy tune, but more like whispers and sadness. And it goes with the story of a kingdom that's fallen apart. But the point is that the place seems to remember things. Before you even have to think about it, it gives you a feeling. And that's what I mean when I talk about an emotional place. It's a spot that affects your feelings first, and then you start to digest it. Music is important here for sure, but it's just one part. The smaller sounds do a lot of work. Wind, bugs, far-off animals, the noise of a city, the bustle of an inn. These things make a place feel real, even when you're not doing anything. They also make it feel like the world keeps going on without you, which is an effective way to make a world feel alive instead of staged. And Classic makes it easy to notice those little things. You travel, you wait, you run down roads, you stop at corners, you look for landmarks, you get to a dungeon and wait outside for your friends. People complain about these things, and to an extent I get it, but maybe those things were important. They gave you time to experience the world, which is how you get to know it. This is where we can talk about retail. The stuff there, obviously looks amazing, and the worlds are beautiful. The difference isn't just how good they look, though. It's about what you pay attention to. Retail often wants you to see as much as possible, as fast as possible. And that can be exciting, but being fast and easy can also mean you don't really get to feel the place. When you teleport all over, you might see some spots, but you don't really get to know them. Seeing a place isn't the same as existing in a place. Feeling attached takes time, and it helps to feel like you got there on your own. Classic speed, whether they planned it or not, helped you experience the world, and it gave you time to feel it. And the way the game looks also helps. Quite frankly, Classic doesn't look real at all, but it doesn't need to. The simple style looks good because it wasn't trying to look like real life. It tells you what things mean with clear shapes, easy to see forms, and different use of color. Those things help you remember. We usually remember things that are different and not just the details. A place you can recognize right away is easier to remember later. And remembering isn't just in your head, it's emotional. And Classic uses the feeling of the air itself. Mist, fog, changing lights, and not showing you everything at once. Soft edges can make the world feel bigger. Dark forests at night can make you feel like there's something out there without having a monster jump out at you. When you see a city through the mist, it feels like you've actually arrived somewhere. These are simple tricks, but they do a lot to your mind. They make the world feel big, and that can make you feel amazed. And feeling amazed helps you remember because it makes you feel different about the spot. You feel smaller, but not in a bad way. More like you're a part of something bigger than yourself. How far you travel also makes a difference. Distance isn't just empty space, it has meaning. That's why a city gate can feel like a relief. That's why a long trek across the zones can feel lonely. That's why mountains can feel like a challenge instead of just a pretty background. Newer games often try to cut down on travel time so you can get to the good parts, but Classic lets the travel be part of the experience. If the world is how it feels to your senses, then the game's sounds are its punctuation. Players don't usually think about this when they talk about why Classic feels so special. Just think of the level up sound, the quest completion sound, the sound of your Hearthstone, or the different sounds of the various spells and weapons. These tell you something's happening. And what's important is that these sounds exist and that the game's speed makes them feel important. When you don't level up as often, each level up feels better. When it takes time to complete a long quest, turning it in feels like an accomplishment. When getting ready takes effort, being ready feels good. Over time, the loop of get ready, travel, try, get better, and come back feels important. It makes you feel calm and like you know what's happening. You know what the world wants you to do next, and that rhythm makes you feel grounded. But Classic isn't just about feeling good, it's also about feeling sad or amazed. And those feelings are on purpose. Outland and Northrend are remembered because the world itself feels like it has a past. The game isn't afraid to let a place feel heavy without making you do something right away. Zones feel haunted, not just dangerous. On the other hand, there's relief. People remember Nagrand not just by the quests, but by the feeling of almost sort of being able to breathe with its big sky, open fields, and its beautiful landscape. Likewise, Wrath sets up your arrival in a special way, and Howling Fjord is a good example. Not because of any one specific thing, but because of many things working together. The boat ride makes you wait, and the cliffs feel like a door. And eventually the world shows itself to you. It's not just the music, it's the speed, the setting, and the size, all working together in harmony. Grizzly Hills is another great example, and this one's not even complicated. It just feels warm and lived in. People don't just remember it, they want to be there, and that's the clearest sign of place memory. The spot isn't just for doing quests. It makes just being there feel like something. So at this point, I think it's probably kind of unnecessary to continue talking about vanilla, TBC, and Wrath separately. That classic era experience isn't like 3 different worlds, but more like one long lesson in feeling at home in a place. The zones in vanilla teach you about the feeling of traveling and finding things out slowly. Outland teaches you about existing in an alien place, finding beauty and loss and feeling safe next to something that's fallen apart. Northrend teaches you about size and being amazed, and like the world itself is older and heavier. The sounds and sights change, but the way they do it stays the same. Make each spot feel clear, and keep it that way long enough for the player to get to know it. And this explains why Classic Era can feel more connected than Retail, even when it looks better. Retail is great at showing you amazing things, and that's awesome. But constant amazing things can make it hard to tell places apart, and being able to tell places apart is important for remembering them. When everything is bright, fast, and easy to get to, the world can feel like a bunch of moments that were made specifically for you, instead of a world that you have to live in. That's not a bad thing, it's just a different way of making you pay attention. But all of this doesn't just happen by itself. WoW has always been about playing with others. I mean, it is an MMO after all. For many people, it was like a second home, a place where they could meet people and feel like they belonged. Cities weren't just places to get quests, they were public spaces. Inns weren't just where you rested, they were breaks. Dungeons weren't just a spot to grind, they were meeting places. A lot happened in those in-between times where you're getting ready, traveling, or waiting. Those times were full of the game's feeling, and that feeling got attached to the memories of being there with others. And that's why the sounds of classic WoW bring back more than just the game. They bring back a time in your life. Friendships, routines, late nights, a younger version of yourself. Nostalgia is real and it's a part of it, but it's really just the start of remembering something deeper. A world that makes sense can hold your feelings, and even years later, even a simple sound can open that world back up. All of this is just to say, Classic Era wasn't about making a pretty world just for the sake of it. It was about making a world that felt real to your emotions. It made sounds, sights, speed, distance, and reward all work together to make places that felt real. And then it gave you enough time in those places for your mind to remember them as places, not just levels. That's why you feel something before you even think about it. The sound brings back the feeling brings back the time brings back you. And so, if you enjoy this kind of discussion, feel free to like the video and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.